Well, Gary, a disappointing day for the club all round in round 15 on Saturday as we went down to the arch rival Williamstown by 10 goals. What did you make of the game?
Yeah, obviously all losses are disappointing, Sam, and the fact that that's now 4 in a row. The fact is that we're at home, so of course we've certainly lost that invincibility, so to speak. And really, what do I put it down to? It's pretty much the mistakes that we made. It was very much no more than that, really. So if you're going to make elementary mistakes, there's errors that occur in a game because of the pressure. And what you always try and do is actually balance the pressure acts with the unpressured acts, if you want to call it that. And we're just obviously doing way too much of both. And if we've got some sort of clearance and we don't have the pressure, we're not executing the ball well, not making the right decisions. And of course then when we get under a little bit of pressure, we're also not making the right decisions. So sometimes it's easier to say, well, I did something just for the sake of doing it. But of course there's not a lot of thought that goes into it. And once again, we got some basic errors that were inside the opposition forward 30, 35, and they scored goals. And we can go through those and say exactly what they are, and that's just an element of our game which really right through the 15 weeks we've been pretty average at. So there's got to be responsibility taken for those, and we certainly are getting exposed in a 50-50 situation, and whether that's physical, whether that's skill, whether that's class, whether that's just the fact that we don't really know, it's probably a combination of all those. And Williamstown will be given opportunities, and of course they're not sitting in the top 3 if they can't win games, and we certainly gave them a lot of easy chances to score goals.
So you mentioned obviously those sort of fundamental errors, but after having a couple of days to think about it, was there anything else you sort of put it down to that last quarter fade out again? Because we sort of went into half-time 26 points down, clawed it back to 18 points at the 10-minute mark of the third, and then three-quarter time came and we were back down by 29, but then again got the first goal of the last quarter through Jordan Lyle and it was back to 23, and so you sort of thought we were still hanging about in the game and in with a chance. In trying to put a positive spin on it, I mean, was the 10-goal margin a little bit unfair in the end? Because there were certainly stages where I thought we were sort of in it up to our ears.
Yeah, we were, and certainly we tried various things too, whether we put someone behind the ball, whether we actually tried some different positions. Michaelides up on the wing, who hadn't really troubled the statisticians till that point in time. Blake Pearson up around the ball. Batsanis went forward. John McKenzie back into defence and try and expose Mitch Hayes through the middle with a little bit of run, because he does do a 16 beep. So all these things that we tried, but really it just didn't stem any of the flow. And of course it's a little bit like the previous week against Richmond when we allowed them to kick 5 unanswered goals. We did a similar thing, and that's generally a criticism of the resolve or lack of resilience. And look, okay, we can always say that we've got a young group playing at the minute, and that's a reason, but there are fundamentals of each game that you go into which are in your kit bag, and one is to compete and compete hard and compete long. Certainly we'll always say that there's going to be errors in a match, as I said before, whether that's pressured or unpressured. We accept that too, but it's actually about getting used to playing the same way whether you're 10 goals in front or 10 goals behind. And it's a bit of the New South Wales, Queensland state of origin type information that we've seen, and footage, that Queensland, before they got on this golden run, used to always play the same way, and they end up making tries very late in games. And of course the thought process behind that is when the game is tight, well of course you can actually end up pinching a game and winning because you haven't deviated off the course. And I think we are too easily deviated off the course that we are going through at the minute. Obviously, again, Williamstown are pretty good depth-wise, because our development team copped a bit of a spanking as well. But the 10-goal margin wasn't a true 10-goal indication, I didn't feel. And we've got to keep trying these things, because it's no good sitting here and just keep saying, well, we'll do the same thing, because that's not getting us results. If you try it, it doesn't work. That's not to say then when you try it again next week that it actually works. So that's the positive on this. And I thought Riley Hogan made a pretty good debut. I thought Gilmore continues to, again, work hard in the ruck. He's pretty much one out at the minute. I thought Geordie Lyle was terrific because he had an enormous amount of pressure in and around where he was playing on the weekend. Blake Pearson got a little bit more of the ball, so there were some positives there, and we've just continued to build. And I think going forward with 5 matches to go, we're still obviously mathematically a chance to make the finals, but we'll still, control what we can, and we'll still try some things because, without being brutally honest, there's some guys who are playing at the minute that won't be here next year.
So you mentioned a few names already, and just again, if we're searching for positives from that individual point of view, I suppose the only other name which we didn't mention, Toby Pinn was always fantastic, and he was great as he always is. But Lee Osborne provided some terrific run and dash through the midfield. He's really, since he came back from injury, he really seems to have stepped up to the plate.
Oh, you're right, Sam, and he won our best player, obviously, on the day. And really, if you look at him against Richmond, I thought he was equally as good. So he's really something that we probably would like another 3 or 4, so if we can clone him this week and get some guys that will wear different numbers but look very much like Lee Osborne, we might be half a chance because he's a nice long thumping left foot kick, he's got a nice little bit of speed, and that also unfortunately says a little bit of where we're at with our one pace midfield. And of course Aussie does break it up, and no, I was very pleased with Aussie's performance. And generally what happens is too, whenever I look at my review and going back over the tape, I'm always keen to see who's played well in a side where things haven't gone exactly right versus how many guys play well when things are going well. And it's a lot easier to chip in when it's all going well rather than it is when things aren't going quite so well. So, and even Zach Keogh, I thought Zach got a little bit of the ball as well, but he's just got to remember that there is a time to handball and there is a time to kick, and not getting it mixed up.
So Coburg next, and I can only assume that as long as it is still mathematically possible for us to get there, you'll still keep that final stream alive and push as hard as you can. But even this game is not going to be easy with the Lions coming off that big win over Footscray. Yeah,
quite amazing, isn't it? Like Box Hill beat them by, I think, around 100 points, and of course then they were able to regroup, galvanise their squad going forward, and of course they've come out and beat obviously last year's premiers. So that says a little bit about what you can do when you're all on the same page and obviously playing to instructions and doing the right thing. So no games are given, and of course we don't really want to be exposing ourselves anymore on the debit loss, so to speak, so we need to get back on track. And look, we'll make some changes again. Skippy only got through the development team, which was very, very good. Shannon Lang got through another game, so we just got to look at what we think those 2 boys will add if they were to come in. And I won't die wondering about where we're going to go over the next 5 weeks.
Well, Gary, thanks again for your time on Borough TV, and he's hoping we can turn it around this week against Coburg. And we obviously should just mention as well to encourage all of our loyal fans and Borough TV audience out there to get to the game and get behind the club this week, because we need all the support we can get at the moment.
Yeah, we do, Sam, and obviously we've always got to remember too that the last 8 years have been an unbelievable run of success, and of course I can certainly assure the fans that the good times we've had over the last 8 years certainly outweigh this little bit of a trough that we're in at the minute. So yeah, we'd love to see everyone down here for a 2 o'clock start.
Gary, we'll see you on Saturday. Good luck.
Thanks, Sam.